Surely Zubimendi is not going to sign for Liverpool. Liverpool are exploring a deal to sign Martin Zubimendi of Real Sociedad as they work to strengthen Arne Slot's squad with a new number six. Where, considering the fact that they've signed Szoboszlai, Endo, Gravenberch, McAllister, they could do, especially with McAllister playing further forwards concerned. I guess Liverpool could do with another six. Now, when I think of Zubimendi, I think Man United, who are relinked with him, primarily Arsenal, PSG, Barcelona. We've all tried to sign you allegedly, Bayern Munich even, and we've heard he wants to stay in Spain. Now, I don't blame Liverpool for exploring the deal, but whether they sign him or not is another thing. But exploring a deal probably tells me we're seeing his willingness to get a deal done. We're seeing if he genuinely wants to leave. And it doesn't say they've activated his release clause. A move for the 25-year-old Spain international is complicated by his 60 million euros in brackets 51.7 or $63.4 million release clause needing to be paid in full if the La Liga club are not willing to negotiate a fee below that figure. Now, whether Liverpool have the finances to do that without talking about outgoings is another thing, but it does need to be paid in full. I know this tends to go over a lot of people's heads, but when you're seeing half of these transfer fees, with the exception of a couple like release clauses, 50 million is not being just given in 50 million. There's all different variables and many different intricacies that sum up a deal. And as it says here via David Ornstein, Liverpool would also need to convince Zubimendi to leave, which a number of suitors from the Premier League and elsewhere have not managed to do so far. Zubimendi has previously attracted the interest of Arsenal and Barcelona, with the latter keen on the Spaniard as far back as last summer. So everybody's failed. It don't mean Liverpool are necessarily going to fail. If you're anybody at Liverpool, you're probably getting Xavi Alonso to put in a word. You could probably sell him the carrot of how big Liverpool is, which is rightly so. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, / in the Premier League. They've won the Premier Champions League in recent years, if you're not talking about City, where English clubs are concerned. And it seems that there's a nailed on spot for him in that number six. Whether he wants to depart Spain or depart Sociedad or sign for another club or stay where he's at, I don't know. Spare a thought for Sociedad, because if Zubimendi does go to Liverpool and Mikel Moreno goes to Arsenal, they've got to look for a whole other midfield. Now, of course, they're crippled by the fact of his release clause. Moving away from that, as again, Manchester United, clearly central midfield is an area they need to improve at. They've been linked with Frankie de Jong, as I've said. They've also been linked with Richard Rios, who did well at the Copa America, Sander Berge, again in recent days, actually, and also Martin Zubimendi, as we kind of alluded to, people. And they've actually been linked with Frankie de Jong. Keeping midfielders parked off for a second, Arsenal remain in the race to sign Napoli forward Victor Osimhen, despite strong interest from Paris Saint-Germain. It comes down to one, the wages, two, the price tag. I think Napoli giving him that new deal was probably so they could get an important fee, but again, there's a long way to go in the market, but that's probably harmed them, because I don't think anyone is willing to take on his wages. I don't think anyone is willing to pay the fee that Napoli wants. Or if they are, they're trying to probably wait as the transfer window goes on and seeing if Napoli will buckle under pressure. It's actually been linked with Chelsea again in a swap move for Lukaku. Chelsea have brought in a forward or in the process of doing such. So where we go from there, I'm not too sure. I think every Arsenal fan would agree we got 91 Premier League goals last year, over 100 in all comps, 80 in the Premier League the year before. Goals are not necessarily a problem, but they are. When you look at our December period or certain games where we've needed to get out of jail, turn some draws into victories, turn some defeats into draws, ultimately more points on the board were in issues. And I like Kai Havertz, but, he struggled at the first half of the season. It was only the second half of the season that he really bagged the goals. Now, I hope his goal scoring continues and whatnot, but I don't know for sure that everything's a risk, but I don't know for sure that's going to continue, and again, as much as I like Kai Havertz, I like Gabriel Jesus, and I'm not the harshest of critic on Eddie Nketiah, even though he needs to move on. These are not strong enough options up front to lead the line. It's not always how you are at your best. Yes, the goals are spread amongst the team. We've got a bunch of collective players that can bag. Obviously, with our scoring from set pieces, there's obviously some unlikely heroes in that regards. But when push comes to shoves, who's getting the goals? It's weird because we know we're going to score a bunch of goals this season coming up. We've done it in the last 2 years, but who is going to get those? Saka is the only one you can bet on because he's got a proven track record of such. The rest have capacity to. I hope Kai Havertz continues. I hope Gabriel Jesus stays fit, etc. And also, you'd imagine where Arsenal and Victor Osimhen are concerned, before we can even entertain that, surely we'd probably need to move on Eddie Nketiah, move on Kivior, get Brooke Norton-Coffey and Charlie Patino out and get some fees in and sort out, even Aaron Ramsdale and Reece Nelson's future, as well as bringing in Moreno, where midfield has to probably be the priority before we talk about, I don't want to say a luxury signing because it isn't a luxury signing, but a luxury signing. And when you break it down, Are we stronger in midfield or are we stronger up front? I think we're stronger in midfield on one hand because you have got Declan Rice, you do have Partey, you do have Jorginho, you do have other options you can flirt between. If Moreno comes in terms of bodies, we're right. Up front, Kai Havertz's form has been amazing. Trossard and Saka are there. Martinelli can get back to form. You've got Gabriel Jesus. But I do think we're missing a trick if we don't sign a striker or at least an inside forward. People, surely I'm not asking too much in that regards, but we'll have to see. People, Arsenal remain in the race. PSG are also in the race. One team that won't be in the race allegedly is Chelsea, as they've looked at other targets. So we'll have to see how that develops. Apparently, Manchester United have approached Barcelona over the possibility of signing Frankie de Jong this summer. United will make a move if his price is around 30 to 40 million, which is quite the hit for Barcelona, but they need every penny they can get. Obviously, there's a Dutch influence, a growing Dutch influence, even off the field where Man United are concerned. They need a central midfielder. They have tried to get him before. Like we were saying with Zubimendi with Liverpool, it's a big club at the end of the day, and they could sell him that carrot. We'll have to see. Whether he's keen to leave Barcelona is another thing. Going back to Arsenal, or better yet, keeping the theme with central midfielders, Romano on Mikel Moreno said, "For now, my understanding is that negotiations continue. It's all still verbal with no formal bid, but for sure Moreno is waiting for Arsenal to complete the agreement with Sociedad. It's all about the payment terms, the structure, more things to follow between the two clubs. Moreno wants Arsenal, so it's just on the clubs now. So we'll have to see. And the deal could be done for 30 million euros around that region. That would take Arsenal spending to around 105 million euros when you factor in Moreno, Calafiori, and David Raya's move being made permanent. The article was also said, as well as Moreno, we still hold an interest in Victor Osimhen and Gyökeres. But those are big ticket items. Whether we're able to get that done is a completely other thing. Ivan Toney's still at Brentford, even though in every interview he could possibly feature on. He said he wants to move. Manchester United apparently remain interested in Ivan Toney. Brentford could be tempted to do business at around 40 million. And I think I've been saying, I think Spurs look like they're getting Solanke. I think he'd be a good signing for Man United. I don't know or care for all this attitude stuff, but he's an experienced striker. Now, Højlund picks up a couple of injuries and is a young striker that needs to learn the tricks and trades. Joshua Zirkzee is a very good signing and can play up front as well as other areas. But if you watch Zirkzee, he has the ability to score goals. He got double figures last year, but it's more the playmaking, more the modern day striker. He described himself as neither a striker nor a 10 and 9.5, and he's also young. Ivan Toney is a striker, seasoned veteran. He's only interested in scoring goals. So I think he could step in and be quite good for them in that squad. Nico Williams seems like he's going to stay at Atletico Madrid. There's, Arsenal, Chelsea, Barcelona, and PSG at this moment in time seem failure to bring him in. He's on 200 grand a week, people. And apparently Atletico Madrid are actually tempted to offer him a contract extension. United are still linked with Manuel Ugarte, but apparently are looking at alternatives as they don't believe it's value for money where PSG are concerned. And a bit like Arsenal with our transfer business, on one hand, I don't want to praise clubs for doing competent things and behaving like big clubs and not just paying money and quite frankly getting swindled. But on the other hand, from what Manchester United have done, there's been a series of bad deals or deals that have looked good. They look good on FIFA. When you break down the Cristiano Ronaldo at this moment in time, the Jadon Sanchos, the Paul Pogbas, Alexis Sanchez, the list kind of goes on. And it's not all because of the players. There's many different factors, but ultimately just Casemiro just flashing cash and not getting too much of a return in that regard. Real Madrid apparently will make one last attempt to sign Alphonso Davies this summer, according to Spanish media. His deal is running down, and there has been reports that actually they'll allow him to run down his deal and get him on a free transfer. Griezmann is in talks to sign for LAFC. I mean, he's been a good player in Europe. Go and do your thing. The Atletico Madrid and France international, it seems to be a thing, and he will join up with Giroud. And we all saw the last time France, it was the last time France won the World Cup, where you had Giroud next to Griezmann and obviously Mbappe and Dembele. It would be quite good for the American-based fans. Chelsea apparently are nearing a 20 million deal to sign 16-year-old Gabriel Mek. From what you see on YouTube, and he can't join Chelsea technically until 2026 or be part of their training. He looks good, but Chelsea have more money than sense at this moment in time. And to be fair, the amount of players you're buying, you're bound to strike gold at some point. Chiesa, as we know, is on the market. People, Juventus have confirmed he's up for sale. Even Thiago Motta has done such. So we'll have to see. He's been linked with Liverpool recently as well. Moving away from that, Joshua Kimmich seems to be staying at Bayern Munich, and he's admitted that a move away from Bayern could still be on the cards this summer. You can always talk to each other reasonably. All doors are open. Generally speaking, I feel really comfortable here. All my kids were born here. We built a house here. Of course, last season wasn't so successful. That's not what Bayern and I want. Now I'm full of energy. And to be fair, half of the Bayern Munich players, Sane, Gnabry, Goretzka, Kimmich. It seems like there's a lot of speculation over the majority of them, Delit even, and for the vast majority of them, it seems to be about the contract that they're currently on. Tottenham have been linked with Dominic Solanke. People and Romano has said that they're pushing to get a deal done. Apparently, Solanke has given the green light to Spurs as negotiations are ongoing to find an agreement. He has a release clause allegedly of 65 million. Eze has been linked with Liverpool, and I don't think Crystal Palace will be keen to see Gurhi and Elise go, but money talks, people, as well as Eze. Money talks. I would love Eze at the Emirates. I don't see us putting 60 million down, so that's where that's done. We've gone over Solanke already. Dani Almo is going to be another Barcelona player, and apparently he's completed his medical test, folks. Again, Atletico Madrid are in the process of signing Julian Alvarez. Fabrizio Romano has said that they're preparing all the documents, people, and he'll sign a deal until 2029. Manchester City will get 75 million euros plus 20 million euros in add-ons. Considering they just bought him 2 years ago from River Plate for 14 odd million, it's quite the profit for them, really. Victor Osimhen apparently has a loan proposal from the Premier League, and his agent needs to get him out of that Barcelona deal, man. It doesn't look like Hansi Flick is convinced on him any more than Xavi. It seems like a terrible signing. And where you look at when Endrick signed for Madrid and when Victor Osimhen signed for Barcelona, a lot of people and armchair experts were saying, you know what, that's potentially going to be a La Liga battle in years to come in which Brazil could benefit. So obviously he's made the move to Barcelona far too early. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. But yeah, people, let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Check out the rest of the videos. Make sure you're checking out my main channel, Deluded Goon, and you're turning on your notification bells because there will be more videos and diversity in content in the weeks, months, and years to come. Big up you lot. Hit the like button. Peace.